Hi, Leah here for Clarence Media. Got my trusty clipboard again. And today I'm having a chat with Leon Ankersmit. Leon is running for the Labor Party in the upcoming state election. Thank you for taking some time today. Oh, that's for the Clarence electorate.
My pleasure. Thanks, Leah.
So we'll get started. Firstly, what inspired you to pursue a career in politics? What are your core values that guide you in your decisions as a public servant?
Yeah, so I've worked in the community services sector for most of my career, for 30 years, and my focus has been on helping segments of our community, households, to achieve a good life, I guess is a good way of putting it. And that's been my focus throughout my career. Most recently, I was the CEO of Anglicare here in Grafton, and the region for that organisation stretches well beyond the Clarence electorate. And so I feel running for Parliament in New South Wales is a way for me to, I suppose, put even more emphasis on the things I've been focusing on for all these years, which are focused on household well-being, particularly housing and cost of living pressures and what that does for families.
You see a lot of that working for Anglicare.
Exactly, and I think that these issues have now come to the fore in our state, although we've been talking about them for years. And I think the time is right for someone like me to put my hand up and say, I've actually got some skills, to offer in this area, and I think I could do a pretty good job representing the people of Clarence, so that we can all have, a good life and thrive, and so that no one is left behind. Yep. And those are my values as well. Really, if I was to sum up my values in life, I would say to leave no one behind. Yep. It's not good enough just to try and do well for ourselves and for our families, because we live in a community where if our neighbour is suffering or the children in our school community are suffering, then we all kind of suffer along with that. So, seeking to lift everybody up to make sure no one is left behind.
Yep, great. And what policies have you championed in the past, and what have been the results?
So, as in my work, I would say my focus has been in two main areas. One is in household support for households, and particularly around secure housing, and the other is in the area of child and family welfare, looking at child safety, and that's been my area of research and study. And what I've achieved in those areas is, over the years, and I won't claim credit for much of this, but there's been a push, I guess, to emphasise the needs of children in families, that things like a secure place to live and a place to call home that's affordable and where people aren't at risk of being evicted is a very important bedrock part of a family and a household being able to provide all the other things that children need. And so we have managed to achieve some inroads in that. And I think the fact that housing and housing affordability is now on the agenda politically in New South Wales for the first time in many years is a great achievement. But there's a lot more to be done, that's for sure.
So for the kids, it's sort of a stability thing. The having a home is a stability.
Well, it's primarily for the parents, I think, for the adults. They need to have the certainty that they've got a safe place to live, that they can afford and have enough money left over to pay the bills and to put food on the table. And that provides the kind of, if you like, core, the core things that a household needs, so that the children can thrive. Children aren't focused on that stuff. They're focused on playing with their friends and making a mess in their bedrooms. But it's the adults who need to have that stable, secure bedrock so that they can get on with life and reduce the amount of arguments and reduce the amount of stresses and that happens between adults, so that children can thrive.
Yep. How do you plan to promote economic growth and job creation in the Clarence electorate, and what policies would you support to achieve those goals?
I think that economic growth and job creation for our electorate are very important priorities. I think that I would love to see Grafton and casino particularly being identified as growth hubs for economy, for industry. A couple of the things that we need to do to make that happen is that we need to advocate within a New South Wales government for all the things that our region has to offer. We've got excellent transport connections with railheads and with the motorway that's been put in, as well as roads leading west. So Grafton is ideal for an intermodal transport hub. Casino is also a very good spot for that kind of thing. We need to promote what our region has to offer to industry at a state level so that we can attract some funding and some incentives to bring industry here. We also need to work with local government to get the infrastructure that we need to bring, businesses and industry here. We do need to address housing because at the moment one of the big issues for a lot of workplaces who have got jobs going for people that can't find anywhere to live, so they're struggling to recruit people from outside the area. So housing is definitely an issue there. But really, traditionally, Grafton and Casino were the affordable places to live.
Yep.
And I think we will get back there eventually, but there's some work to be done.
And you've possibly already touched on this next one, but what do you think the most pressing issue facing people of the Clarence electorate is?
Well, look, at the moment, people are struggling to afford, some of the basics in life, and we've heard a lot about cost of living pressures, but I think at the bottom of cost of living pressure is the cost of housing. And whether you've got a mortgage or whether you've got rent to pay, that's taking a huge chunk out of people's incomes at the moment, and it's very difficult to negotiate with a landlord when you know that there isn't much else available. So you don't have many options. If you say to your landlord or to your agent, look, I can't really afford this rent increase, because you know that if you're going to go out there and try and find another place to live, there's not much out there. So definitely housing, I would say, is the main issue.
And how can you and or other politicians address that issue?
Well, there's a couple of things. The state governments and the federal government used to have funding agreements, which meant that funding could flow from the federal government to the states to provide housing, affordable housing solutions, and over time that's happened. It's not happening at the moment, but I think we need to return to a federal and state housing agreement and a partnership. I know that federally the government is talking about building a lot of housing and the state is talking about it as well, and I think we need to get together and put those buckets of money together and then give it to local regions to make it happen. Another thing that I used to be a part of, and I'd love to bring this back, is that 10 or 8 years ago was the last time we held a Northern Rivers Housing Forum, and that was bringing together people from the sector that I was working in, the community services sector, the community housing sector, as well as businesses and local government, as well as some people from universities in Sydney. We had like a 1 day or a 2 day kind of a conference, but it was focused on the needs of the Northern Rivers. It brought people around the table to talk about solutions, and it was a very effective thing. And if we'd kept that going every year for the past 8 years, I think we would be in a different situation now. So I think I would like to bring something like that back to the Northern Rivers.
Yep. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And how do you plan to address the issue of political polarisation and bring people from different backgrounds and viewpoints together?
What a good question, and thank you for it. My background is actually in developing and forging partnership. So if I'm an expert at anything, my expertise is working on developing collaboration and partnerships, particularly between people who have divergent perspectives on things, but who would benefit from working together. And so I will use those skills to bring people from different backgrounds and different interest groups, if you like, or different, interest groups is probably the right word, together to find solutions that are common to all of us. So my aim will be to say, let's work together and perhaps put aside our differences and focus on what it is that we're all trying to address to work together to achieve some of these things. Because the business sector, the local government sector, the government sector, the different parties, at the end of the day, I think what unites us is probably greater than what divides us. And that's what we should focus on.
We all want what's best for the community, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah, but it does take some skill and some facilitation to make that happen. And I have to say, my background is in forging that type of participation and partnership. Exactly. Yep.
Yep. And if anyone wants to find out more about you or the Labor Party or policies, where do they go to find you?
So I'm a recent convert to Facebook.
A recent convert.
I am.
To Facebook.
I started. Yes, I managed to live for however long Facebook has existed without having a Facebook presence until I nominated for this role, and I quickly realised that Facebook is an extremely effective way of getting reach and reaching people in the community. So my Facebook page is called Leon Ankersmit for Clarence, the number 4. It's easy to find. I try to answer every question that people put to me on there. I do ignore the odd rude question, or if people don't use their manners, I put them at the back of the queue, but certainly answer every polite question. The other way is to look at New South Wales Labor policies. If you Google those, you can find out all of Labor's current policies for New South Wales, and that's probably the best way. We also have a couple of more live forums happening this week, and I'll be on the polling booths at pre-poll in Grafton, Casino and Maclean for the whole of next week in one of each of these 3 places, and then on polling day on the 25th I'll do the rounds and try and visit as many polls as I can.
So you're at the Q&A on Thursday night?
I certainly will be.
You certainly
and I
will
look
be.
forward to it. Yep.
Okay, so before we finish up, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Look, I would like to say to the people of Clarence that there is a clear choice for the people of Clarence this election, and that is you can choose between a leader who has a proven record of providing leadership in the community services with energy and with ideas and with experience, or you can choose effectively a follower, someone who's been patient and waited their time and who's now being offered a job from his mates. And I think that's a really clear choice for the people of Clarence. The other thing that I think I would like to say is if New South Wales elects a Labor government in March, then the people of Clarence need to think really hard. Are you happy with a member who will effectively be in opposition for the next 4 years, sitting on the opposition backbenches, or would you prefer to have a member who is in that government, who has a direct line to each of the ministers who will be in that government and the policy makers? I mean, their numbers are in my phone already. So I think it's a clear choice for the people of Clarence.
Okay, well, thank you for your time today and good luck on the 25th.
My pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you.